Okay. So you'll see now when I show the textbook, it's just Afrikaans, but it's fine. I just want to show you the graph and the values. If you want to open your textbook, it's on page 267. So when we're going to look at finances, there are two main things that you need to understand, and that is simple interest and compound interest. Have you ever heard of it? Simple interest and compound interest. Okay, so let's just go through it again. When we consider simple interest, the easiest way to understand it is that whether you invest the money or you're lending the money. Let's just talk about investment for the sake of explanation. If you invest a specific amount, like in this case 2,000 Rand, and you get they give you an interest rate, in this example it's 12%, so then you would get 12% of 2,000 Rand, that's 240 Rand. You would get that added to the amount that you invested, because you invested it. Eh? With simple interest, it would remain that same amount. So, you're investing 2,000 Rand, at the end of year 1, you'll get 250 Rand for your investment. Now you've got 2,240 Rand in the bank. At the end of the second year, you will still get 240 Rand for your investment of 2,240 Rand. At the end of the third year, you will still get 240 Rand on your investment of 2,720. At the end of the fourth year, you will still be getting 240 Rand. Although at this stage, your investment might be 2,960 Rand. Does that make sense? So you get a specific amount and you keep getting the same amount continuously. Okay. Don't think that when we refer to simple and compound interest, that the one is necessarily better than the other one. There's not one that's better than the other one. There's one that's better than the other one for a specific situation. So it will depend. Many times the simple interest rate will be higher. The percentage that you're going to get back is going to be higher than compound interest. But if you're going to invest your money over long term, it wouldn't be smart to use simple interest, because your money is growing and growing. You're not planning on taking it out. You're planning on investing it for 20 years. So why would you, after 15 years, still get the same amount of interest that you got at the end of year 1? But if you are planning to invest short term, it would be better to take simple interest that has a higher interest rate, because you only plan to invest it for maybe a year or 2. Does that make sense? So don't decide one is better than the other. When we get to compound interest, the way it works is you get interest on the amount of money that is in your account. So at the end of year 1, if you invest 2,000 Rand, at the end of year 1 you will also have 2,240 Rand. But calculating the interest to the second year, they're not going to calculate 12% of 2,000 Rand, the original amount. They're going to calculate what is 12% of the amount you have in your account now, which is 2,240. So at the end of the second year, you will receive 268 Rand instead of 240 Rand. Does that make sense? Then they add that to the amount you had. Now you've got 2,508 Rand in your account. So at the end of the third year, they're going to calculate what's 12% of 2,508 Rand. They're no longer calculating it of 2,000 Rand. And the amount of interest you get is 301 Rand. Add that to the amount that you invested. That gives you 2,809 Rand. So the next 12% will be calculated on the 2,809 Rand. So to summarize it, you are getting interest, you earn interest on interest. Where with simple interest, you only get interest on the original amount you invested. Compound, you earn interest on the original amount and the interest that you have already earned. You understand that? Okay. Now let's start writing. Have you written a heading finances? You can write this down. Is it a bit too small? I just want to quickly focus your attention here. We're going to write down what each of the variables mean in a minute. But if you look at this formula for the simple interest, you don't have to write this down. But if I multiply that P in, it's going to be P times 1 is P, plus P times IN is going to be plus PIN. Okay, so this is the original amount. This is the original amount times the interest rate times the time that the specific time or term that it was invested for. So that is the interest, and that's the original amount, and together they give you the final amount. So does the equation actually make sense? No. Same here, but because that n is in the air, that it changes the amount every year, because you know compound, it changes it. Okay. Alright, so you don't have to write that down. I just want you to understand. Right, the first one I want you to write down is A. here is I'm going to draw, let's call it a number line for the investment. Now this is not necessary, especially not at this time. But when we are going to get to the end of this chapter, you will see that the investments made can be very complex, and the interest rate can change all the time or after a couple of years and so on. So it will be very complex, and then we're going to have this number line. So because of that, I just want you to draw the number line now so that you start to get used to it. So what I did is I said it's from year 0 to year 6. I start with 4,600 Rand. Do you agree with that? That is invested for 4 years. Right? At the interest rate of 10%, which can be given as 0,1, and this is simple interest. Do you agree? Then I will get a specific amount there that I don't have right now. I will get the amount out. Then that amount that I get out will be invested for another 2 years at 12%, which is 0,12 compound interest. And then I will get the final amount, and that is the amount that I want to calculate. Do you agree with that? Now, do you understand that when I read this question, what happened is this is one person making an investment for 4 years, and then after the 4 years, reinvesting the money for another 2 years. Do you understand it like that? Okay. That is going to be the one type of question that you're going to come across in the homework that you're going to do. But you're also going to come across a question where they give you 2 options. So they ask you, you've got 5,000 Rand. What's the amount that you will get out after 2 years when you invest it at 20% compound interest? What's the amount that you will get out if you invest it at 20% simple interest? You understand that what I just said is not the same as 2 consecutive investments. The one that I just said is the same investment, but you are comparing which one is better or what does each one offer. Doing it or using compound interest, this is the amount that I will get. Using simple interest, this is the amount that I will get. Does that make sense? So it's not the same question. This is consecutive investments. Those are 2 different option investments. Okay, so when I do this one, consecutive, I'm starting with 4,600 Rand. It is invested originally at simple interest. So I'm going to use the simple interest formula, which is A equal to P bracket 1 plus IN. Now what can also happen at some times, and it's also going to happen in the work that you're going to do, sometimes they can give you the original amount like they did here. They're telling you the starting amount, and then you're going to calculate the final amount. But they can also give you the final amount. You need 50,000 Rand after 5 years at the interest rate of 12%. What amount must you start with? Does that make sense? Then you're going to have to calculate P. But you guys know most how to shuffle the equation to calculate one of these variables. Okay, so they can ask you any of the variables, any of them in those 2 equations, except for the time period at compound. Because to get an exponent alone, you've never gotten an exponent alone. Do you agree with me? It was just when our bases are the same, we can throw them away. It's not the same here. To get an exponent alone, you need a log. And you're only going to learn about logs in grade 12. Okay, so everything else, fair game. And you should be able to get any one of them alone. But just not that one. Okay, but in this case, they've given me the original amount, they've given me the interest rate, and they've given me the time period. So I'm going to calculate it. I want to find the final amount. A is equal to 4,600 Rand times 1 plus 0,1 times how many years? 4 years. And you just substitute that in your calculator and then you get an answer of 6,440 rand. Let me just check. You understand how I did that? It's not hard, no? Now the question states that you must now take that amount and reinvest it for 2 more years. But now you're going to have to use compound interest, no? Okay, so this formula is P bracket 1 plus I to the power of it. So, I want to calculate the final answer. I have the new original amount. The interest rate is 0,12. Close the bracket to the power of 2 for 2 years. And then you get an answer of 8,078,34. 2 consecutive investments. Any questions? Now there's also a way that we can do it where we do the whole sum or the whole calculation in one step, in one sum. And I want to show you that because of the final questions that we're going to get to. Then we're going to do it in one step. Now, when I write down this first part, A equal to 4,600, 1 plus 0,1 times 4. Do you agree when I say that this amount, the answer of what I've done here is 6,440, no? And then we took that 6,440 and we multiplied it with 1 plus 0,12, close the bracket square. So the 2 consecutive things that are happening, I start with my original amount. I do the first investment without getting the answer, but I know when I do that, I will get that answer. And the answer that I get there is 6,440. And that one, that 6,440 is multiplied with 1 plus 0,12 to the power of 2. And if you take your calculator, and I want you to check up. If you take your calculator and you type this exactly as it stands there, it will give you 8,078,34 rand. Did you get the same answer? Okay. So when you're going to do your homework now, because you're going to do the whole of exercise 1, it's 8 questions on page 269 and 270. You will see that there are also questions where 2 consecutive investments are made. So first the one at a certain interest rate for a certain time, and then the amount is taken and reinvested. You can do it in the separate sum way, the first way that we did it here. But I want you just to try next to it with pencil. See if you get it right, because we are working towards that. So you do question 1 to number 8. Question 1, it's not consecutive. They're giving you an option with simple interest and an option with compound. You calculate each one separately. You understand? Number 2, same thing, but there you have to, they want you to calculate the original amount, the amount you started with. So you're going to have to calculate P there. Okay, in the two different situations. Question 3 and question 4 and question 5 and question 6 and question 7 and question 8 also has to do where you're calculating one of the other variables or a consecutive investment. When you take out the one, you reinvest it. You understand it? I also check the answers at the back of the textbook. All of the answers at the back of the textbook is correct for this exercise 1. So once you've gotten the answer, check if you got it right from the answers at the back. Okay, you've got the rest of the period to do this. Please, you have to get it right. Okay, this is the foundation of us moving forward with finances.